I'm Richard Porter.
I'm Jonny Smith.
And this is Smith and Sniff, a podcast in which two friends talk about cars, and this week receiving a present from Jackie Stewart.
I got sent an eBay advert by a listener yesterday. I did send it to you on WhatsApp about a blue Vauxhall Corsa for sale, Y-Reg, with possible ghosts inside. That's in there. That's actually in the title of the car. And I just... I'm sorry. It's sent by a chap called Kyle on Instagram, Kyles_cars. Thanks for it, Kyle. And I just... it just made me giggle because even if it is sinister, and I did read the description quite carefully, it's up to 114 quid in St Albans as we speak, with possible ghosts. So it says, possible ghost inside Corsa Y-Reg. Much like my love life in that Friends song, this car was DOA. I had no one to advise me about cars, so I'm total uggo and have no friends. So when I bought it, I was alone. It made a funny noise when starting, but the seller told me that was normal for a second-hand car. I mean, it's just gone on and on and on. Life has been that way. When I was little, my foster mum used to tie a necklace made of chicken bones around my neck. We weren't allowed to have our own dog since unspayed canines copulate outside of marriage, and that makes Jesus cry. I mean, honestly, the information...
The description is batshit.
It's really long. I've just scrolled seven times with my finger, and it's still going.
Now it's the additional things, the following information. He's added information as you can do on eBay.
Yeah.
The first one, because what struck me is when you open that link, the picture is of the back of a fairly normal looking Corsa, except one of the back lights is missing. It's that iteration of Corsa where the back lights frame the back window.
Oh yes.
And one of them is missing, and it's sort of ghoulish in itself because it looks like someone with a missing eye. You can sort of see the socket, and it's a bit unsettling because the backlight has gone and you can just see the hole where it should be.
It's a bit like when urban explorers always take pictures of dolls that have been discarded. Have you noticed that? There's always a creepy doll covered in moss or, I don't know, some sort of mould, and it looks a little bit sinister because it's not been played with.
There was a wheelie bin outside my daughter's nursery when I dropped her off the other day, and... they were obviously having a clear out at the nursery, and one of the things they'd cleared out was an old doll that was clearly past its best, and it was just lying on top of a load of bin bags in this open wheelie bin, like, one of those massive industrial ones, and it was a very creepy, sinister sight. And I wanted to take a picture of it, but that if I'd done that, I would have been seen doing it by one of the carers from my daughter's nursery, and that's the kind of thing you don't want on your file.
Dustbin dolls.
So, takes pictures of dolls in dustbins. Just put a little red sticker on it, June. Yeah, okay, I will. Yeah. Just got to watch him. So the picture of the Corsa has the sinister-looking missing light. And then one of the updates says, I have found the missing light. We'll update photos soon. The ghost is very happy that all the lights are now present. The previous following information just says, just to reiterate, the engine doesn't start, although the mechanic said it would be easy to fix and the seats may need a good wash.
What, the mechanic said the seats need a wash? They needed a mechanic to comment on that.
Who knows?
There's some very odd information.
If you want to clean the seats yourself, then I'd recommend you wear a mask, is one of the other notes. I'm going to file this in... wacky eBay listings that are wacky deliberately to get attention.
We would have to cut down the bush at the front to show the front of the car, which is in good condition, by the way. Only one tyre is flat and the front two wheels have hubcaps. What?
No. Also, the missing rear light from the driver's side will be included. We just detached them to free the rainbow butterfly that was living inside.
Oh my gosh.
It's hard to know what's going on here.
Well, okay, should we just abandon this? We'll put the link in for... any Patreon listeners.
Yeah. Oh, actually, I think... is it going to expire? I think it's expiring.
What the?
Oh no, it'll next.
Don't worry.
No, just today. Or yes. Anyway,
you can still look at an expired auction. I spent quite a few hours of my life doing that.
Yeah, I know. I find joy in that when you go, I can still see it, and then eventually you can't, and then it becomes disappointing. If you want
it's more than 90 days.
The ghosts of eBay past. I would say the bigger concern about buying this Corsa would be not that it seems to be being sold by someone who may be a little strange, but that in fact those Corsas were crap.
What it would make it interesting if it was haunted, because you'd actually have something to talk about. Yes,
but I don't think it's haunted. I think it's haunted by the limitations of General Motors engineering know-how in the late 90s. Is a bigger issue there.
Yeah,
but,
it was a pooey car, wasn't it?
Are you at an age now, I know you're a little bit younger than me, but are you at an age now where you sometimes you feel a sneeze coming and you think, uh-oh, this might be the one that puts my back out?
No.
Do you not get that? I think it's quite a recent thing for me, but I sometimes feel a sneeze coming and I go, it's going to be a big one. This could be the one that causes a physical injury to another part of my body.
No, I really look forward to sneezes. I get excited.
I do. Don't get me wrong.
One coming, because I don't sneeze very often, and my wife sneezes multiple times a day. She has sinus issues, so she sneezes every day. Let's say my wife sneezes 50 times a day. I might sneeze
50.
Oh, a lot.
Really?
A lot, even with antihistamines.
Oh my God.
But I might sneeze like once every 3 days. So for me, it's exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't believe I'm putting this on a podcast.
Yeah.
I'm not sure it's that exciting.
Britain's most popular car podcast. And the secret of our success is who the fuck knows. But I'm the same as you. Sneezing. It's a rare treat.
Yeah, it is. But I
just have this thing now where I just think, one day, now I'm in my mid-40s, I feel like I'm closing in on that time. But you hear about this happening, don't you? Or do you? Or have I made this up? Where people do a violent sneeze and it puts their back out, or, their shoulder pops out, or something mad like that. You sneeze at an unfortunate angle. So I genuinely sometimes, if I feel it coming, and it's like standing on a London Underground platform and the rails start to tingle a little bit and you know the train's coming. One of those sneezes. You're like, oh, here it comes, it comes, it's going to be a biggie. And then, and obviously, I'm a dad, so now I shout loudly when I sneeze. And it's...
Oh, do you? Do you do the shout sneeze?
I try not to, but I think it's almost impossible. And I think it's hereditary because my dad was a big shout sneezer. Ha!
Do you know what?
It's like Tom Jones sneezing in the next room.
Yes, I think my mum's one is quite vocal, and I think every time I say she's still alive actually. But when she sneezes, my dad always tuts because I think he knows it's coming and he knows the noise is going to be irritating. It's just Yeah, I do remember that. Because here we go.
Not to be too gender stereotypical, but I would say a more classic female sneeze of a certain age would be a kind of beep, like where you suppress it and you sound like a tiny animal being trodden on.
Yes, it does. Or like you say, an animal from a children's program. Where like an animated creature.
Or like it's like sort of the air brake being applied on a tiny lorry.
Oh yeah. Actually, my mate Dan, who I was going to name check in this because he's in the middle of cycling from John O'Groats to Land's End, which is quite hard.
Really?
Yeah, for to raise money.
No, that's the easy way because it's all downhill.
Yeah, well,
it doesn't. No,
it doesn't work like that. Is it? If it was freewheeling, I think a few more people might have done it.
Holy God, that'd be brilliant.
Yeah, it would be amazing, wouldn't it? Although I bet your wheel bearings would shat themselves around about Worcester.
you get a tank slapper on somewhere near Carlisle.
Yeah, you need very high temperature grease for that. And he good, handsome guy, fit guy, but he does sneeze like a kitten.
Oh.
Yeah.
How weird.
And he does a minimum of 6 in a group. I've noticed that ever since we were at school. So it's
he's a multi-sneezer.
Yeah, can't do like 1 or 2. It's just a Yeah, really, really. And
wow.
that is furious air brake on very small lorry. It's very cab over engine, possibly collecting wheelie bins around an urban area kind of lorry.
Yeah, but like a 7.5 tonner maximum. I mean, in fact, I think like a classic middle-aged lady sneeze would in fact be like a sort of a tiny scale model of a lorry.
Oh yeah.
Your
Mitsubishi Canter.
Yeah,
I absolutely love always the Mitsubishi Canter.
But if your friend is a multi-sneezer, that's bad news on a bicycle.
Oh, it's very bad news. I don't know if he
he's
cycles with a visor.
freewheeling. Oh, even so. But then the inside of the visor might get snotted up.
Oh, yeah. Well, also, it's prime hay fever territory right now, and if you're force-feeding it on a fast bike, and he is a fast rider.
Oh, my God.
And he's raising money for charity, so he's doing it for an incredible cause. So,
is he? What's the cause?
the cause is one of his friends lost their son when he was quite young, and so they're raising money for equipment in the Bristol Children's Hospital. And
well, we'll plug a link for that if he's raising money. Shall we?
Yeah, he's doing very well. They've got to average over 90 miles a day. So
wow,
they're doing 90 to 100 miles a day. Might be a shade over 100, which is actually it's a lot, isn't it? When your bum's on a seat and
yeah, I know. It's one of those things where you go, oh, I reckon I could do that, and you go, what, really, every day for how long is that going to take them then?
About 9 days. I think 8 or 9 days. It's because it's 900 and something miles.
And it's been muggy as well, hasn't it? It's been probably the worst kind of weather because it's grey and muggy. Last week or so, hasn't it? And rainy and just generally toss.
Yeah.
But well, at least the rain will damp down the pollen. So
I was going to say, be less sort of forced induction on the hay fever front.
Yes,
on that side of things,
up his nose, and then he does a 6-pack of sneezes on the A66 and veers into traffic.
Almost sounds like a high energy hi hat in a disco track. Oh man,
I love that guy. I've been listening to a lot of ABBA the past couple of days.
Oh my gosh, how well produced is it? Isn't it so crisp?
It's beautiful, isn't it? I usually I like a lot of people. I mean, I'm very proud to be an ABBA fan. There's no shame in that. And everyone sort of defaults to the greatest hits albums, don't they? Yeah. I've been doing some of the albums proper.
ABBA Gold,
and they are terrific. Some of them. I mean, there's some cheese and some triteness on there, but there's also some incredible songwriting that sort of any other group would have probably punted out as a single, and it's like ABBA's single bar is so high. And I'll tell you what, it's an underrated ABBA single that is on all the gold and the compilations and stuff. It's The Day Before You Came.
Yes.
What an incredible song that is.
My son would describe this sort of opening the music as a drone shot.
Yes.
You know what I mean? But of course, ABBA really did it before drones were invented, because I've noticed my son started to do beatbox incidental music to everything going on in our lives in real time. It's brilliant, because I think and he did a really massive sounding, and I'm like, oh, what are you? What's this music for? He went, oh, this is the drone shot. And he just looked at me deadpan. He's 9. And I went, what do you mean? He went, and he's been watching YouTube videos where, of course, the big reveal is the drone shot now. And he's putting the music to that. But it's just great.
That is good.
I love it.
Is he not doing so when you arrive home, does he not do sort of Seinfeld style interstitial music to bridge? And then it's then you're in your kitchen.
He does
the next scene.
He does do that. Like when he comes into the kitchen, he slinks into the kitchen to get a packet of crisps and a drink, and he'll embellish it with mouth sounds. Yeah, he's really into it. It's brilliant. It's brilliant. I absolutely love it. Very good. And he's good at engine sounds now, because he's been listening to different engine sounds and trying to mimic those, which is always. I don't think he'll ever grow old. That'll never be tiring, I don't think. No,
it's a worthy way to pass the time.
Yeah.
See, maybe I know drones weren't invented when ABBA were still a group, but then they were very wealthy and they probably had access to helicopters. In fact, they're in a helicopter on the cover of the Arrival album, so maybe that's what was in Bjorn and Benny's head when they were doing some of their writing.
Mind you, they were all so clever. I wonder if one of them casually built a drone in their back garden in about 1978, but just didn't tell anyone.
Yeah, it's the kind of thing they do, isn't it?
Yeah.
Agnetha, she's got a little cheeky drone lab at home.
She'd do it and just go, yeah, I flew it. I actually lost it in a lake. I just didn't bother going to get it. It was too busy.
No, too cold.
So, yeah, shame about that.
It never really occurred to me until quite recently that the day before you came, you always assume it's about the your life is about to change because a new lover comes into your life. But something like the song is so downbeat in a way, the music is so downbeat in that brilliant sort of wistful ABBA-ish kind of way that I was like, oh God, what, it's actually about the person who eventually killed her or something.
Yeah,
it's actually quite dark.
Oh, it is dark.
I can't work it out. I meant to sort of look this up to see if there's an official explanation, but in some ways it's quite nice not to have an official explanation. You make your own explanation with songs sometimes, don't you? So
you do.
But then should I be worried that my reading of it is suddenly the dark one when previously I just thought it was kind of a love song? But I don't know. Anyway, it's a great song.
No,
all the same.
Lovely, what's the name? What's the name of the game? Is that one? That's my favourite.
Instrumentally,
it's the best one. It's the coolest one.
Well, it does that thing. You cannot beat, as far as I'm concerned, one of the great blending of instruments in music is when you get sort of synths with an acoustic sounding guitar strum over the top. It's it can be a very nice sounding thing. It's funny because ABBA was the only band that I think our whole family agreed on that we liked when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Because my parents were generally into classical music and my dad likes sort of close harmony Welsh choir stuff and all manner of things, and my mum liked Gilbert and Sullivan and Cliff Richard, and so ABBA was the sort of in the Venn diagram of our family. And we once went in 1982, I think, or 83, we went on holiday to Denmark on the car ferry.
Oh, brilliant.
The only tape in my dad's Talbot Solara that was mutually acceptable to all four members of our family, my mum and dad and me and my little brother, was ABBA's Greatest Hits. And so we just had it on a loop for 2 weeks of driving around Denmark. And the amazing thing is, after that, I still love ABBA to this day.
Oh, yeah. I know what I was going to come off the back of, talking about cycling and my mate Dan. He's on this thing called Strava.
Yes.
Which I always thought, when he said it to me, I always thought he was saying Strada. And obviously I was constantly just thinking about the Fiat with the most unusual door handles out there. But actually, it was Strava, and of course I now know this. But I was thinking, Strava's exclusively, I think, for cyclists, but it could be for runners, but I think he uses it for cycling.
No, it is. I'm on Strava.
Are you? So it's for running and cycling, is it?
And swimming, I think.
Oh, is it?
It's an exercise thing, yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I was just thinking, could you use Strava for, like, other pursuits, such as auto jumbles or car booting? Because the thing is, I've been thinking about this. Can you imagine car boot Strava? Because these are seasoned people that do car booting regularly, and they go early. They're precise. They pounce like a viper on the bargains before all the great unwashed get too close. So could you do a car boot Strava? So I was thinking, you're plotting your route, so you go, well, here's the layout of the field. You know, it's 6 rows, 40 cars each row, whatever. Do you go zigzag in and out? Do you go all the way to one end? It's a bit like, how do you mow it? It's like a crop, kind of a diagram of how you harvest a field. I was thinking, car boot Strava, auto jumble Strava, I think could be brilliant. You'd look at all the different routes that people have taken. Do they walk straight in and go to the end and work their way back? Yeah. Or they do a fast sweep first. This is what I tend to do. I'll go in.
Oh, do you? Okay.
I'll do a fast sweep first and then go straight back to the beginning and do a more detailed comb.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good tactic. I don't think I've ever been to an auto jumble when I actually need to buy something.
No,
so I'm a meanderer.
Yes.
I'm a meanderer, and I might end up with an old book or some old magazines or something. But I'm not there specifically to get them, so there's no need to be so tactical. So I could have a little... I'm a more of a saunterer.
And would you...
It's beeping. Something beeps.
I just did... Yeah, do you know what it was? Oh, hang on.
It's that bloody thing, isn't it? It's that stopwatch.
It is. It's the PE teacher stopwatch. I forgot I've left it on my desk. Here it is. Yeah, still got the stupid thing.
Are you still being tortured by the PE teacher?
Yeah,
stopwatch?
it has the hourly chime, and then the alarm still goes off, and I still don't know how to reset it or anything. And also, I can't take the batteries out. I got to have 4 screws to take the batteries out. It's so bad for a game of soldiers. Oh, I'm just going to leave it on the desk. It's rubbish, but I quite like it. So yeah, Auto Jumble Strava. I think, and people will maybe share their tactics, or they'll compare notes. So they'll go, "Oh yeah, at the Newark Auto Jumble last June, I managed to walk 14 miles in 3 hours, and I bought nothing of any worth." And then
you have to enter what you've bought, surely, as well. That's part.
Oh yeah, because if it weighs something, of course, that adds to the experience. So you go, well, that's nothing. I walked 7 miles, so half of what you walked, but I was carrying an anvil the whole time.
I had the entire rear quarter panel for an Austin Princess balanced on my head, so I get extra points. Thanks.
Well,
this feels like a separate app. I'm not sure Strava has the functionality built in to account for that, so you need to build a whole new app. Johnny Smith's shitter app or something, which
Auto Jumble Jog Auto Jumble Jog Jumble Jogger. Oh, I don't know.
Let's get ready to jumble with Johnny Smith. That's something different, though, isn't it? I think that's
What about
that title could be applied.
I was going to call it Tat Seeker, but then I thought it could be misconstrued because we won't go down
Tat
that.
Hound.
Yes, Tat Hound. It could, but then you'll get all sorts of tattoo enthusiasts getting into it, and then maybe.
I didn't. That's funny. I didn't think about tattoos. You're right. I suppose.
Did you think about breasts? Because some people call them tats as well, and so perhaps.
Do they?
Yeah.
Do they?
Yeah. So you can imagine the app already is in danger.
Already getting
getting muddied.
I mean, if you tatties is sometimes a colloquial word for potatoes. Yeah.
Yeah. So
dear Johnny Smith, I downloaded your app and there's absolutely nothing about potatoes on it. I want my money back. Well, it's an idea, definitely.
Yeah, it's an idea.
Is the Auto Jumble season, I suppose, is it upon us, but is it also happening because of COVID?
I don't know if it is happening. I haven't done many analogue Auto Jumbles for a while.
It feels like in these current times it's not entirely COVID safe to pick up the alternator for an Austin 1100 and then put it back down again because you don't want it. But
no.
I mean, maybe they could impose some rules. Just look at it. You look with your eyes, as parents for many decades have said.
I think you're absolutely right. I don't think it's the most popular thing. I'm going to look though because I haven't been for many years, and it is good fun. Oh, I
haven't been to one for a very long time. But then I mean, you know.
Can you hear this?
For that.
Can you hear that?
I can hear something.
Okay, there's a little box here. I got sent a mysterious parcel yesterday. I still don't really know who it's from. Well, it says it's from Jackie Stewart, but I don't believe that. Honestly, was it you?
Was it in a tartan envelope?
I kid you not. There's a card. There's a present and a card, and the card is tartan.
Oh,
and honestly, I'm opening the card. It says, "Dear Johnny, some friends who listen to your podcast said you were thinking of sending me a gift. I thought I'd beat you to it. As you know, what I like about the Ford Scorpio is that despite it being a very big car, it drives like a small car, especially this one, which is in fact a small car, a model." And I've got a model of a Ford Scorpio right next to me in the box, made in West Germany in champagne metallic.
Hang on, which era of Scorpio?
Well, Mark III Granada.
But classic mid-80s, not the bug-eye one.
No, the bubble shape. Yeah, I mean, it's new in the box. When I say new, it's very old, but you know what I mean. It's still in the box. Oh yeah, I'll send you a picture. We'll put it on the Patreon thing. And it says, "I hope you enjoyed the Scorpio. It's time at the bar at the Glen Eagles Hotel where the carpet matches my trousers. All the very best, wee Jackie." And that's it.
Yeah, that's definitely how he signs his name.
Oh my God, I've just noticed. The card is actually the tartan of Jackie Stewart's helmet stripe. It says it on the back.
Well, now this is very confusing because I want to believe this is real, and yet I'm not sure.
I mean, if anyone's confused who's listening to this, Jackie Stewart did a corporate video for Ford in the 80s, and
with Frank Boff.
Yeah,
in it
and we will put
as well.
we will put a
Weird.
link to it, and it's a good 20 minutes to watch, but it's not 20 minutes lost. It's fantastic.
20 minutes well spent, yeah.
It's so
I've just realised,
good.
though, Jackie Stewart, in inverted commas, has raised a good point in his note there.
What's that?
That if you also went with the matching tartan shirt or jacket or something, then effectively, when he goes to the Glen Eagles Hotel, he's like a chameleon. He can just hide himself against the carpet and then surprise people at leisure.
Of course, he's a Highlands chameleon,
Yeah.
and it's a bit like.
Oh, I bet you didn't see me there, did you? Oh,
I think
surprise in a safe way.
I think he has that moment that Schwarzenegger has in Predator when he has the mud on his face and Predator and suddenly no one's asking Jackie for a signature because they can't actually see you.
Yeah, he's just there. He's relaxing at the bar with a wee dram, and then he
disappears.
Some autograph hunters coming. He goes, better go, and he just pulls on a jacket and lies on the floor for a bit.
It's golf. It's golf clubhouse Predator. That's what it is. It's just amazing. We could all do with that. That'd be absolutely brilliant. Maybe you could do that with your car, though. You see, because you could wear absolutely matching attire to the car and just stand super close to the car, Predator style. And then all the people just walk past. They admire the car, but they've got no idea the owner's there.
Well, hang on. Also, I just thought about what if you got an up GTI? And one day you get into it and then you're just driving off and suddenly, hello! Ah! And Jackie Stewart's been on the passenger seat the whole time. But you just thought it was the tartan upholstery. I mean, a Jackie Stewart tartan-based prank show is there to be made, surely. As long as it's mostly filmed in Scotland and or in sporty Volkswagens, Jackie can just conceal himself against any tartan surface.
Well, also Resto Mod Porsche shows, Jackie gets invited but never turns up apparently, and then he says, I bloody did turn up. They go, we're not paying you.
I was there the whole time. How rude. Yeah.
I was here the whole time. I was sitting in that singer, then I went in the other singer. It's Jackie Stewart's tartan chameleon show.
I remember that. I'm sure that was a joke when I was a kid. Did you hear about the chameleon that went onto a tartan rug and exploded? And that, in fact, Jackie Stewart has one up on chameleons. Chameleons can't change into tartan, but Jackie Stewart,
no, they can't.
Give him a tartan surface, he's invisible to the naked eye. Brilliant. Well, there we go. Another TV format piece of gold.
Gosh, I wish I could earn a huge amount of money from some of these ideas. I really do.
Yeah, well, it's a tough game. It's a tough game. I was just looking at my list of things that I note down in my phone to talk about you. Some of them, I mean, I've still got fizzy yogurt down the bottom of the list. We'll never get to the bottom of that. Still, well, I'm not deleting it till I've cracked it. And I've also written down, and I can't remember the context of this, but I've just written down saying spaciousness in a Southern Californian accent.
In a Southern Californian accent?
Yeah, and I think I was just... But I can't remember why. Spaciousness. I was just walking around the house saying it. Spaciousness. But I don't know why. It's a car-related thing, but it seems to have slipped through.
Yeah, what about the floating sphere in the ocean that Americans call buoys?
A buoy, I know.
Yeah, that still troubles me to this day.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, there's... Being married to an American, there are so many pronunciations that I'm just going to let this slide. And there's a little bit of a turf war over how we get our kids to say certain things. Like, I've lost it on vitamins, because our kids generally say vitamin.
Do your children... Hang on, you've got children that live in England and they say vitamins.
Do you know what? Yeah.
God, and tread carefully, Rich.
I know. I sort of say to my wife, look, you don't want them to stand out at school because they say things weird. But I think the kids now are so familiar with American pronunciation because they watch American TV shows and YouTube and all this sort of stuff that actually it's not. I bet a lot of the kids say things in an American way.
Yes.
And I'm almost willing to let herbs go and oregano and all of those other
oregano.
American pronunciation. Yeah, oregano.
It's a genre of music, obviously.
But the one, a dad joke. I just buoy. I go, come on. It's not a hard one. Just do it properly. Because they also, depending on which version of Paw Patrol you watch.
Oh, don't get into Paw Patrol. Not
No,
again.
let's not go into Paw Patrol again. How are you paying for all this infrastructure? But if you listen to the original US voicings of that show, then they say buoy. Or Canadian, actually, isn't it? It's a Canadian show.
Oh, do they say buoy?
They do, but then if you listen to the English accent dub, they correct it. But it depends which channel you're watching it on. You know, if you watch it going out on TV on Nickelodeon or whatever, it's the British voices. And
you know how I feel about that show.
I know. Yeah, I don't want to.
Yeah. I've got just don't. I don't want to flare up about it.
So anyway, look, listen, guys. The other day, I went to the cinema on my own for only the second time in my life.
Did you? I've never done it.
No. Well, see, my wife used to do it all the time. If she was a loose end in the week, you know, when she was freelancing, and particularly when she lived in the US, she was just had time to kill. She'd just go to the cinema on her own. She was like, "It's brilliant. I love it. So go and please yourself. Go see what you want." You know, like that. And I was like, no, I know it's a bit of a weird thing to sit in a dark room not speaking and call it a social event, but I always think of going to the cinema as a social thing. And she's like, no, don't knock it. You tried it. Just before COVID kicked in, I did it for the first time. One Wednesday morning, I went to our local sort of slightly art housey cinema to go and see a movie that I really wanted to see that my wife wasn't that interested in. And it was absolutely brilliant. It was a great movie. It was that Jojo Rabbit film, which I really enjoyed. But it was also the experience. Cinema was quiet. Sat on my own.
Of course, you haven't got to talk to anyone. You haven't got to be
nice. There's none of that sort of muttering to each other while they're playing adverts, and you just enjoy the experience. It was great, and I was thinking, I'm going to do this more often. I'm going to go to the cinema midweek on my own, and then everything's shut down because of COVID and sport my fun. Until
when you said just before COVID kicked in, it does make it sound rather VTech like, doesn't it?
VTech-y, yeah. Don't want to trivialise the coronavirus, but before everything all the fun got spoilt, including my solo cinema discovery. You should try it. The cinemas are opening up again.
I think I am.
The reason I went to the cinema on my own is because I wanted to go and see the new Fast and Furious film, and I couldn't really rally, like my wife had no interest, and so I just thought, no, screw it, I'll do it midweek. I'll go on my own, because I mentioned this on a Smith and Sniff video ages ago, but I wrote a feature for the Road Rat magazine in which I watched Fast and Furious 1 to 8, which were all the films that existed at that point.
Wasn't it non-stop?
Yeah, this was 2 years ago. And I said to the editor of the Road Rat, I've never seen a Fast and Furious film ever. And he was like, really? And I feel like I should. And I feel like maybe I should just get all 8 of them and sit down and watch them all in one go. And he went, yeah, you should do that. And then you should write about it for me. And I said, okay, that's a good idea. And so I did. And it was quite intense. And it's actually I mean, you know, it was the early hours of the morning before I wrapped it up, because you've got to stop to eat and things. It takes time. There's 8 films as well. In fact, I fell asleep during the last one. I had to go back the next day and watch it. But gave me...
I haven't watched one for ages. Ages.
I don't know whether
it's
in a
20
way...
20 years old now, the franchise. It's just turned 20.
The first one is... Yeah.
Gosh.
There are some mind-boggling stats attached to that franchise. It is, you know, one of the bona fide biggest franchises in the world, and it's in terms of its earnings, it's like earned billions, and you know, millions of people have seen them. It's hugely successful, and hugely popular, and so that's partly why I thought I should do a little catch up on this. And having watched them all in basically one go, I kind of really enjoyed them on their own terms, because they're ridiculous, and they get more ridiculous. And I saw someone on social media the other day replying. I said on Twitter after I'd been to the cinema, I said I've been to the cinema to see Fast 9, and someone described it as like a ridiculous Roadrunner cartoon, and that's kind of it. They do turn into cartoons, but it's like, if you accept that, I thought that the sort of the later ones, they're just daft. And I really wanted to see the 9th one, because it feels like...
Is Vin Diesel still in it? He is, isn't he?
Yeah, Vin Diesel's in it. The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, not in the new one.
Yeah. because
he stepped aside.
He's in 14 other films being filmed simultaneously. He hasn't got enough time.
Yeah,
busiest man in the world,
and all the cooking that he's got to do so people can smell what The Rock is cooking. But he's not in it, but all the other sort of, you know, the regulars are there, which I think is part of the success of the franchise. Is that, you know, they're a familiar cast of characters that keeps you coming back because you kind of like them, even though they're a little bit two-dimensional. They're sort of likable, and they're a gang, and it's nice to watch a gang. I mean, you know, that's. I think of so many things that are appealing and enduring, and it's partly because they have this sort of gang show appeal, and you sort of go, God, wouldn't it be fun to be part of their gang? I think it's what made the Clarkson, May and Hammond iteration of Top Gear successful, was partly because it's like, oh look, wouldn't it be great to be mates with that gang of mates?
Yeah.
And you sort of go, God, look at Vin Diesel and his crew doing all these zany things. God, aren't they having some japes? Even though, you know, they're sort of taking it seriously, but it's also preposterous.
I worry a bit about Vin Diesel now because he kind of looks like an old guy being forced to wear the clothes that you wore in your early 20s. And it doesn't quite work for me. I sigh and I worry a bit about him. I shouldn't worry about him. He was exceptionally successful and wealthy.
Don't worry about Vin. He's okay.
Do you think he's all right?
I think he's okay. Yeah.
Okay.
That's the thing. I said when I wrote about the first 8 films, I said one of the things that makes them work is that you sense that Vin Diesel is doing this sincerely. He totally believes in the Fast and Furious franchise.
He does.
And he totally puts his back into it.
Yeah.
He's not just cashing the check and going, oh, great, yeah, I'll do a 9th.
Oh, no,
how many million?
This is his time.
He truly believes in it. And that is partly what makes it work. You go, well, you know, he's behind all this. He's really into it. He's totally committed to making this as good as it can be as another Fast and Furious film, and it's not going to be an Oscar-winning work, but it's going to be a good Fast and Furious film if he's got anything to do with it. So, I kind of admire that. But he does.
He actually drive
he's looking
around
old,
in
but
a 1970 Charger though, like normally? I like to think.
Oh, the Charger, Charger just. I mean, there's one of the things, obviously, it's all ridiculous. That's the whole point. It's like, once you accept it's all ridiculous, then you can get on and enjoy it for what it is, which is just absolute cartoonish nonsense. But that's not a criticism. It's willfully big and silly.
Yeah.
And the Charger, because one of the things that bugs me about it in that sense is that you kind of go, wherever they are in the world, suddenly they've got cars there. And not just like, they've not just gone and rented an Astra.
They haven't got domestic cars,
No, so they suddenly go, oh, we need to go to Edinburgh. And it feels like they do that quite quickly. But somehow Vin Diesel has a Charger there. But it's not his Charger from home.
Well,
it's a mid-engined Charger.
Of course it is.
With massive, it's an insane resto mod.
Yeah.
It's got an engine. The engine's in the middle, which looks great, by the way, because of that fastback rear window. You can see the engine underneath it. And then it's got huge sort of boxy arches on it.
Well, I can tell you right now, the DVLA has been striking and they're short-staffed, and if you modify a car beyond a certain realm, you're not going to be allowed to drive it on UK roads. So I can immediately see a stick in the spokes of the Fast and Furious machine. If you just super casual rock up to certain countries with certain cars from different countries, there's a shitload of paperwork. Let's be clear about that.
But could he not just claim that he's just temporarily in the country and just drive it around on his US plates?
Yeah, but for how long? And
also, I mean, that said, I can't remember what plates it's got on it. And also, really, he should have a sticker on that identifies it as for a car for the US, shouldn't he?
I think he should. Yeah. What about trade plates? It'd be quite nice if he had those trade plates with the rubber sucker on the window.
And he's absolutely ragging it, and the trade plates are clinging on by a bit of red
on the
string.
Back. Yeah, it's just slapping on the back. We've all done it. So all the Fast and Furious cars, when they go on a really high energy mission, it's all on trade plates.
But trade plates have some pretty strict terms and conditions applied on them. I don't think you're supposed to have a passenger in the car if you're on trade plates, are you?
Oh, okay. Someone
will write in and tell us and correct us on this, but it's my vague memory that you're not supposed to have a passenger in the car, and you're supposed to be going somewhere. It's purely for transit. You're not just meant to be driving around casually or indeed chasing baddies on trade plates.
Bloody hell! Sorry, I've just noticed that this Scorpio model that someone sent me has got an opening bonnet, and it's got a full engine bay with a washer bottle and everything, and the interior. It's a manual gearbox. It's got a manual gear stick. Oh, I have to send you some pictures of this, Richard. You'd love it.
How big is it?
It's 1/25th, so it's about 5 or 6 inches long.
Okay,
it's nice.
Wow.
It's nice. It's a proper thing, and it's in a proper box with Ford badges on it and everything.
Oh,
made in West Germany.
Oh, that's a lovely period detail in itself, isn't it?
West Germany. It's always
West Germany.
Yes, made in West Germany. Yeah. None of your East. It's amazing.
Oh no, I'm jealous. I'm kind of.
So out of give us your rating. Give us your rating of.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, that's the thing. It's like it's not a good film kind of thing, but it's an enjoyable film as long as you accept it's incredibly silly.
Yes.
And daft. And I laughed more at that film than I would laugh at, I don't know, an episode of many sitcoms of recent times.
Did you?
Yeah, but laughed at the ridiculousness of it, because it's what the Fast franchise does is it has to raise the bar every time in terms of the absurdity of what they're doing.
Yeah.
So the best way to think of those films is like the human bits, the dialogue and stuff, are sort of like the fantasies of a 17-year-old boy, because it's all about, hanging out with your mates and having a beer, and then there's loads of saucy women around, and you're all friends, and you get to do cool stuff and say cool things.
Of course you do.
And then all of the car sequences are like the fantasies of a 7-year-old boy, because it's all just massive jumps and rolling, and the damage isn't sort of commensurate with the amount of absolutely chaotic tumbling down a mountainside that a car does, and seemingly without a roll cage.
The radiator's still okay.
Yeah, and then there's a couple of times in this film where a car is basically used as a crash mat, and then people just kind of go, oh, and get up again. You go, it's kids playing with action figures and playing with cars, and you just accept it like that. It's basically a huge play set being shown on screen. I think there's more CGI in this one. What I liked about the recent ones with the big stunts is it was still practical effects. It wasn't, for the most part, CGI. They're quite proud of that.
They are. Yeah.
And this one, it feels like there's a bit more CGI in it. Although there's a scene, I won't spoil it, but there's a scene where there's like lots of, basically, if you're a fan of early 2000s hatchbacks, look away, because a lot of them seem to get trashed in a chaotic street scene. And I was looking at it, I think that a lot of that is real. They're flinging real cars around the place.
What, with like sort of pneumatic trebuchets or something?
Yeah, well, I did see behind the scenes some photos when they were filming in Tbilisi, and it looked like, they'd got cars on these sort of pneumatic ram things to sort of fling them across the street. So they're still doing quite a lot of practical effects, and you can tell that some of it you just go, it's either the incredible CGI, or in fact they've just sort of thrown an old Mini across the street in front of a lorry. But there's just some bits where you kind of go, okay, this defies the laws of physics, so they've had to get the old laptop out and animate it.
Well, they're keeping real stunts alive, and I think that's probably a good thing, because there is something extra. It's like, that's why we like Bond films so much, because historically they've done the real thing. And so, a bit of sort of needless charge of destruction going on in Fast and Furious, but yeah, cars
are good. There's a Supra pops up. There's a Jaguar Project 8, XE Project 8,
really
pops up. Yeah, there's quite a few good cars. Oh, and this is what I wanted to tell you.
Reliant Kitten, that pops up, yeah.
There's a Reliant Kitten. There's 2 Seat Penzas, which is incredible. The last 2 left in Britain get used. I think one of them might be CGI, because, how could they get 2? There's a couple of...
Vin Diesel's in a Gordon Keeble. In fact, that's a tongue twister in itself. Vin Diesel
in a Gordon Keeble.
Yeah. Say it 10 times. Go.
Vin Diesel in a Gordon Keeble. No, it's too hard. I think I'd sprain my tongue. There's a lovely sequence in which Vin Diesel is chasing the bad guys in a Toyota Picnic, which is pretty dramatic.
Oh, that is.
Obviously, a lot of Mark V Escorts.
That's cool. I'm all right with that.
Early ones, diesels.
They replaced the Supras with them and didn't tell anyone, and just thought it'll be fine. It's still iconic. It's absolutely fine.
But no, there's Helen Mirren pops up
What?
Anyone who's seen the previous films, yeah, she was in the last one.
Oh, she's a mum of. She's someone's mum.
Yeah, she's the mum of Jay. She's like a sort of gangster mum, this Cockney gangster mum.
Mirren in Fast and Furious. It still sounds so odd, doesn't it?
It's amazing, but then she's in a noble M600 running away from the cops.
Are you
through the
taking the
streets of
piss
London.
now, or is this real?
No, it's fucking brilliant. There's a night chase through London, purple noble, and at one point she does the most incredible palming you've ever seen.
You're palming in a noble. It's got a very quick rap,
Helen Mirren, Dame Helen Mirren, palming a noble.
But hang on.
Which I realise sounds ruder than it is.
It does.
It's a fucking brilliant bit. She just full palms it.
But you don't palm
brilliant.
a car with such quick steering, otherwise you get massively out of shape.
No, it's like she's doing a sort of evasive manoeuvre because the cops are after her. But also, I was looking at it, I was going, I think it's got an Alcantara wheel, so that's good for palming.
Oh, very grippy.
Palm purchase.
Oh, a lot of palm purchase. That would be perfect.
It makes sense.
Palming.
That's, obviously, they're sticklers for realism, and they've made sure the Alcantara wheel is there.
Mirren
So, yeah, the steering's probably quite heavy, but Mirren palming a noble is one of the high spots of the film if you're a connoisseur of the palm-operated steering.
That was. It's not. I don't class that as a spoiler alert. I class that as a lure.
No, that's a reason
in.
to go. Yeah, it's a lure.
That is a lure.
Go and see the film just to see Mirren palming. And what's weird about it was that it was in this little. It's not really art house cinema. It's an everyman cinema near me, and I went in the morning. And it's like I'm not embarrassed to say I like the Fast and Furious franchise on its own terms. I think they're just stupid films that you can enjoy for their stupidity, and this one doesn't disappoint. It fits in perfectly. It's just daft, but I enjoyed it. And they do show a lot of arty, thoughtful films, and I went to a morning screening of Fast and Furious 9, and I got there and there's a little cafe, and I went up and ordered a coffee, and there's this young woman serving, and she went, "Oh, well, we can't serve here. I'll bring it to you. You go and sit down in your seat, and we bring it to you in the cinema," which is very civilised.
That's amazing.
She said, "Which film are you seeing?" And I had to go, Fast and Furious. Sorry, what? I've seen the first Fast and Furious. I just look like a... Oh, yes, I'm very much into the arts. Yes, I'm going to see Vin Diesel punching a car across a mountain. But then I went and sat down in my seat, and she brought me a coffee, which is very, very delightful, in a cup and saucer.
Oh,
Lovely.
my gosh, this is amazing.
I know, it's great, isn't it? And because it's one of the, those everyman cinemas, they have sofas in them. So I had a sofa to myself, and the two people in there were an old man who left before the end.
What?
And these two women in their 60s who'd come together. And
so hang on, an old guy who left before the end of the film, and two middle-aged ladies coming to watch Fast and Furious 9, and no one else apart from you.
Yeah. And at the end, I was talking to the ladies because we were only three people in there. We sat through all the credits, partly because thinking, oh, there'll be a thing at the end, like there is sometimes with films.
Yeah. And
no, it just stopped, and then the lights came up, and one of the nice old ladies went, "Oh." She turned to me, I stood up, and she went, and she looked at me, and she went, I was waiting for something at the end, and I said, "Yeah, so was I." And she went, "It's a bit disappointing. I was hoping that there'd be something maybe with Charlize Theron." And it was like, me too, but no.
It needs to be more of a Cannonball Run kind of ending, doesn't it? Some freeze frames, some like
bloopers.
Yes, that's right. Some corpsing during lines. Yeah, all that stuff. That's what
Burt
you want.
Reynolds.
Oh my gosh,
about.
stop it. Yeah, stop it.
In fact, they should just put in some of Burt Reynolds mucking about over the credits, even though he's not in the film.
Oh, if Burt was still alive, he should be in Fast and Furious 10.
That's true, actually.
Oh, wouldn't that be
Why
so
was
cool?
he never like a cameo in a Firebird?
Yeah, he turned up in some absolute pro street Firebird, like pro modified, and just go, "Oh my gosh, look at this old dude with the tash." And that's it. He doesn't even. Maybe he just turns up on a race night, and he's just some old guy with a really dangerous car. I'd love that. That'd be brilliant. Oh, talking of dangerous cars,
yes.
I think I forwarded you this ages ago. It happened about 5 years ago. Some guy on YouTube put up a dash cam of himself passing out at the wheel of his Mustang in America.
Oh, yes.
And it was this remarkable thing. He had exceptionally low blood pressure, it turns out, and he passes out, and the shot is over his shoulder, and the car goes off the motorway and straight through a fence into a field, and then it does go through some fences, misses a couple of very big telegraph poles.
Yes.
And then miraculously doesn't die. Nobody's injured. It's just amazing.
Well, what's terrifying about it is it because that thing you sent me is him has now made a new video 6 years later where he talks us through his original dashcam video.
Yeah.
And explains what's going on.
Yeah.
And it's the terrifying bit is when he's on the motorway, the freeway, and he says, okay, right about now I've got massive tunnel vision, but I don't know what's going on. And he's in the process of passing out, but he doesn't realise it.
Yeah.
And but he's explaining that when it goes off the motorway, his foot mashes onto the throttle.
Yeah.
And you can hear it. The car suddenly is like under full power.
It's racing.
People said, oh, you left the cruise control on. But he said, no, I switched the cruise control off when I realised that all was not well and I was feeling a bit weird. And he just mashes it down. So the car then starts power sliding around a field.
Yeah.
And at one point, it actually applies opposite lock on its own. It's the most extraordinary thing, which
lovely.
I think stops it going back up the slope onto the freeway and driving head on into traffic, which would have been horrific. So
Yeah.
he finally comes round as his car is sort of power sliding around a field and slams the brakes on. It's terrifying.
It is terrifying. It's so miraculous that nobody got hurt. And we'll put the link up. But if you search on YouTube, the bloke's name is Paul 70s Tastic, 70s Tastic, and the Mustang isn't a very good one. It's, what would you say? Is it mid-90s? Is it a mid-90s Mustang?
Yeah, I think so.
And he's actually
Maybe
had the car.
later.
He's apparently had the car rebuilt since its incident. I don't know whether he just feels very fortunate. I don't think insurance paid out for it, but anyway,
it didn't. I saw his note under the video. He said insurance didn't pay out, so he rebuilt the car himself. Because actually, there's footage of what it was like afterwards, and it wasn't massively damaged, but the paint was really dinged up from driving through barbed wire.
It went through a barbed wire fence at 70 miles an hour and down a ditch. I mean, really, it's testament. But the reason why I revisited it with interest is it made me think: are Mustangs driven better by people unconscious than people who are conscious leaving a car show?
If you were an alien, you came down to Earth, and your sole mission was to learn about the Ford Mustang via the medium of YouTube, you would go, oh, that's how to make them drive better. The driver must pass out, because when they're conscious, they're going to have a crash.
And they'll overcorrect. The problem is,
yes.
So when you're unconscious, you don't correct because you're unconscious.
It turns out the car. Maybe that's why. When that guy passed out, his Mustang corrected for him.
It did.
These people leaving Cars and Coffee, they're fighting the inherent ability of a 90s Ford Mustang to drive itself. Who knew?
Yeah.
Screw Tesla with this full self-driving nonsense that basically doesn't work. When you've got Ford Mustangs that actually can do it all for you. They're like kit without anyone realising it.
Well, that's why I think we should set up, there should be a massive event called Mustangs and Nighthold. And what we do is everyone comes and they display all their
cars and chloroform.
Yeah. So they got all of their modified, classic, Larry, Stangs, all the pony cars lined up. Everyone sort of in unison adds a bit of chloroform or Nighthold, depending on what your poison of choice is.
Night nurse, yeah.
And then they just, everyone runs their dash cams and the CCTV. And there's obviously some drone footage that my son can do the music for. And then just see how it all pans out. So you've obviously got to do your chloroform, right? While sitting in the car, it's in D already, and you've just got to just do your chloroform and then just see what happens. Is your foot going to go straight for kick down, or if it's a manual, you've got to be already riding the clutch a bit when you take Nighthold. What on earth?
No, it takes a bit to kick in, doesn't it? So you could start driving.
Oh, so okay, you're going to set off on the journey. I thought you were pulling out.
Yeah.
Are you not? Is the experiment surely? Are you not pulling out of the show? The indicator's on. You're looking left and right. You took chloroform 5 minutes ago.
Right. Yeah.
And obviously, then that's it. That's the control experiment. It'll become the new Isle of Man TT. It'll become, because it's exceptionally dangerous, but exciting for spectators.
Yeah. Yeah, as long as they put some bales in front of a phone box, everyone should be fine.
Oh yeah, because some people enter and they've got their Shelby GT500, but they've just covered it in that sort of packaging foam that you get from local markets, so it just sort of bounces off loads of stuff. Oh gosh, quite exciting. I could see this really working.
There you go. You've invented 2 things this week. 3 maybe.
3. And are any of them any good?
Well, it's not for us to say, is it? But
I might go on Dragon's Den with the Mustang dashcam thing.
Well, on that note, if you have got something to say to us, whether it's correcting us about the use of trade plates or just giving us feedback on some of our half-cocked ideas, then the email address is hello@smithandsniff.com. That's all in words, no ampersands. And we do read every email, even if we often forget to reply. Or if you're one of our lovely patrons, you can contact us through the Patreon page. And we do put more of an effort into trying to reply there, although it's not always that successful. But anyway, that's what we do. We should probably drop the clutch and see if we can get this thing out of the Cars and Coffee without colliding with a telegraph pole. But before we go, I have 3 things to tell you. 1, Jonny has a solo YouTube channel. It's called The Late Break Show. It's got lots of excellent stuff on there, including the video of the Lada Niva incident we talked about last week, which is going great guns, isn't it? I saw it being picked up by an American website the other day.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, did you not see that? Car Scoops have written about it, yeah.
Oh, nice.
Linked to your video. So, yeah, it's doing good. And there's lots of other things on there that are also worth your time. 2, I've got various books out, but this week I'm going to plug someone else's book because our old studio director from Top Gear and the Grand Tour, Brian Klein, spent lockdown writing a novel which is out this month. He sent me an advance copy and I've read it, and it's a real page turner. It's about that conspiracy theory that Adolf Hitler didn't die in 1945 and in fact fled to South America. But it springboards off that to the present day, and it's a tale about bank heists and covert Nazis and the American presidential election. It's a really good story. It's called The Counterfeit Candidate by Brian Klein, available shortly in all good bookshops and on various other online things as well. And the third thing I have to tell you is that the phone number given out by the Ghostbusters is the same one that was Jim Rockford's number in the Rockford Files.
Is that true?
Yeah, the number is 555-2368.
Is that intentional?
Well, I think it is, but 555 is the fake code used in US TV shows.
Right, okay.
So there's no actual area code for 555. Well, there's no area aligned to it, though it is used for some sort of non-area numbers. But if you're making a movie or a TV show, there's a list of numbers, as there is here actually. There's an Ofcom list of numbers that you use that are fake for mobiles and landlines if you're doing a UK show and you want to make up a phone number so that you don't accidentally give out someone's real number.
It's just Subaru Rally sponsorship in the 90s.
That's what I always think of as well, because if you listen all to American TV shows, with some exceptions, with like The Wire, I think, to make it super realistic, they somehow managed to use actual real sounding numbers, but most shows just go with 555, and I always think of an Impreza.
Yeah, I do. I've never seen The Wire.
Oh, it's really good.
Yeah, I'm just a bit late
really
to
good.
it, Rich.
Get into it. I think I've still got the box.
I've only just finished The Detectorists, and I have to say it was one of the...
I haven't done that one.
Oh, my word. I've just finished watching them. I've done them over the last 2 weeks, and it's one of the most enjoyable series I've ever watched. I absolutely love it. I think it's heartwarming. It's beautifully shot, which you were the one that actually suggested I should watch it.
But I think because I'd been told it was brilliant, not because I'd actually seen it.
I thought you had seen it, you flute. Oh, okay. No, well, it is. It's amazing.
Because I know I haven't. But
it features a Triumph TR7 and some really nice quirks. I have to say, it gave me a warm feeling inside and sort of restored my faith in humanity, on that side of things.
You had me at TR7.
Yeah. quite.
Well, that's for my project for next week. Will be to watch The Detectorist, because I've been meaning to do it for ages.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Cool.
Really
good. All right. Well, until then, thank you ever so much for listening. We will see you same time next week. Bye bye.
Bye bye. I'm Jonny Smith, and my mate fancies your mate.
You wouldn't know if she goes to a different